And then this book is called Other Parents by Sarah Stovell. And it's about like small town gossip and secrets.
And it's a novel, I'm guessing, not...
Yes. Got a little bit like... What's that book? It's by the lady who... Leanne Moriarty. It's got that kind of feel to it, I think. You know, she did Nine Perfect Strangers. And what's the other one where there was a bike?
Oh, I'm not sure on that one.
More plots.
My mom would know.
She would know. Ellen would know.
But I just watched the BBC adaptation of The Last Anniversary, which apparently is one of hers. And, you know, Nicole Kidman was in Nine Perfect Strangers. She produced this one. So Nicole Kidman is not in it, but she produced it. And I thought it was absolutely smashing. Like really gripping and not stupid. Lots of sex, which I did not expect.
Nicole Kidman loves the sex. She loves a bit of hanky-panky. She's a for it. Yeah.
Can't get enough of it. That's her directorial requirement.
I think
shagging.
Regardless of the situation, it could be like MI5 or it could be a small town drama. She's on it. She's like,
it's gotta...
You know what this needs? Naked bottoms. That's what it needs.
Says things about her life too, doesn't it? Because if she's like,
this fulfilled.
To really hit the realism, we need some shagging in this truck stop or whatever it might be. That's the life she's living.
Absolutely. You know what? She would play very well, our protagonist for today, I imagine. I can totally... She would sex that up. There's no sex in the story, but she would sex it up.
She'd add it in there. She'd find it. Don't you worry. So you've got somebody to tell me about, and I'm now going to envision Nicole Kidman inhabiting the role, no matter what happens.
Let's do it. Let's have a fabulous time.
Amazing.
Hi, Cara.
Hi, Vicky.
How are you?
I am well, thank you. It is summer, like proper summer. How are you enjoying the heat?
I'm okay with it. I'm all right. This is like, I find this time of day like the worst because like everything's hot at this time of day. Whilst in the day, I'm a bit like, this is nice. The sun's up, the air's cool, I'm good. But like, I feel like this time of night, it feels stuffy. I could be wrong.
It's all like cooked up. I kind of have, I think I've got the opposite where it gets to this point and I can feel it starting to turn. And I'm like, okay, we made it. It's going to start dropping now. And it doesn't necessarily, but I believe that it will. I'm like Charlie Brown trying to kick that football. I always believe. Just live in hope. So,
would you like to hear a story, Cara?
Yes, I certainly would.
Great. It is one actually recommended by Asha, friend of the show. A lovely Asha. And she sent me this and she's like, you have to do it. I was like, you know what? I will. If you want me to, I will. And she's a babe. She's always on the lookout for stories. She's super duper. So here we go. A little intro for you. Checkmate. Or so they thought. Nona Gaprindashvili, a true Grandmaster, had dedicated her life to conquering the chess world. But when Netflix, The Queen's Gambit, made a calculated move that tore down this hard-fought, battled legacy with a single line, the board was set for a new kind of battle. Nona had to once again drum up resilience, psychological prowess, and hard, raw tactics. Feel the tension, hear the fury as we uncover the true story of a real chess queen betrayed.
Oh my God. So this is like bang up to date if you're pulling the Queen's Gambit into things. That's...
Yeah. So we're doing... Nona was born in 1941. So from there, bang up to date, basically. She's still alive today, but her stories is a really good one because it's about like a male-dominated industry, which I think is always really key. So lots of sources today, lots of chess-based sources. So chessbase.com, the European Chase Academy.com. There's lots of interviews there. worldchesshov.org, a Forbes trends analysis I've whacked in there. Britannica, a brilliant YouTube actually a video from World Chess Hall of Fame, a Vanity Fair article. There's lots going on there. Nona was born in a small town in western Georgia. That's where we're going, not the state, the country. And it was called Zugdidi, which is a great name. And this was in 1941. This country is very central to chess and the chess world, which I didn't realise at all. And it has produced loads and loads of chess masters throughout history, which is very fascinating. And Nona or Nona grew up there. I'm going to say Nona because there's not two N's, it's Nona. So she had 4 older brothers, and she obviously played with them everywhere because older brothers, lots of, big family, lots of games. This, I think, made her quite competitive. She kind of notes that this was her introduction to sport. And in particular, this really helped shape her personality. So I've got a little quote there for you in red, and this is directly from Nona herself.
We were really connected and we did a lot of things together. We made an improvised table for table tennis. We loved to play billiards and football also, and they placed me, a girl, to be a goalkeeper. We also really enjoyed playing chess.
So a couple of things to pick out there. One, that lots of sport, lots of games, which is a certain type of personality. I'm not competitive at all. So to me, this is like, oh my God, you're amazing. But also the fact that they placed her in goal because she was a girl. So even from that young age, it was like, you're different because you're a girl. You're not in because you're a girl.
Oh, gosh, I took that so differently. I thought she was I thought she was saying, even though I'm a girl and they could have thought, what have you got to offer? They put me in goal, which is super important.
Oh my gosh.
We've talked before about how I'm too naive for this world.
It's about the third conversation me and Cara have had about this, is that I am absolutely the cynic of the world. And then you come in with your bright happiness and your optimism.
My
and you knock me out the park.
My delusional tendencies, and you protect me.
But no, I don't think I do. I think, if anything, you're like, where's your heart, Vicky? Find it.
I think between us, we make a functional human.
So, yeah.
Oh, chess. Sorry, chess. We went off on a bit of a...
When she was 5 or 6, she started playing chess, basically. So chess, do you know what chess is? Like, how it works?
I do know the rules. I know how the pieces move.
Yeah.
It's not my kind of game. It involves... Yeah, anyway, I'm hoping that you'll explain.
Oh, I don't know anything. I understand that there's a black team and a white team, and they try and knock each other out on a board. That's my understanding. So chess actually originated in India in the 6th century, and at the time it was called Chaturanga. But this is disputed because the 6th century is a long time ago, but also because chess pieces have been found in Russia, China, India, Central Asia, as far as Pakistan.
Wow.
And at the time they were like, oh, this is a chess piece, but it's actually thought now to be linked around different games. Some as complex as having over 100 squares on the grid.
Oh my God. See, the reason I don't play chess is because you have to plan tactics and plan set plays out ahead of you to get any success. And that's not how my brain works. I can't retain things and hold on to them for 2 or 3 turns down the line. Mm-hmm. And that's with whatever it is, 32. I don't know how many squares on a chessboard, but it certainly isn't 100. That's nuts.
And have you seen the chess where it's like on 3 levels?
No, thank you. Only on Star Trek. And I'm like, nah. I'll be in the hollow suite. Just leave you guys to it. That's fine.
But what I did take from that is that board games isn't that amazing that over hundreds and hundreds of years ago, board games were around and they're still around today. And I kind of love that. We spoke about it before, didn't we, with Luke, but these threads of humanness threads.
You could kind of travel back to the 7th century and sit down, and some person from the 7th century could kick my ass at chess.
Yeah, and it's totally identifiable.
It's wild.
Yeah, and not only that, but today it is an industry worth $15.83 billion worldwide. It is a booming industry, and that is
it just chess or board games in
board
general?
Games in general, like any kind of board game.
Like, holy cow, this is more serious than I thought. Wow.
part of that. It is when you think board games, chess will come up in your top.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's actually, it's been growing year on year, especially since COVID, which I find fascinating. I thought that was a cool fact.
Interesting.
So like you say, chess needs certain skills and it is very technical in terms of these skills that you need, particularly at an elite level. So you're talking calculations, you're talking tactical thinking, as well as strategic thinking, pattern recognition, which is what you were saying, like 3 moves ahead, and also like psychological. A lot of it is just psyching out your opponent, as it is with lots of sports, right? But it is like getting into their head.
Do you think that they are skills that can be taught, or do you think that they're inherent skills that you can just build on if you happen to be that kind of person?
I think Nona talks about that a little bit. Like,
Oh,
I
cool.
think, we'll have to see where the story takes us. I think she does, but like, I think it's a bit of both, isn't it? Surely there must be some raw talent at this elite level, but I think the classic playbook you can maybe learn. But then we were just saying 2 minutes ago that we could never learn that because our brains aren't wired that way. So I don't know. So for Nona, there were 2 important moments in her life that led her to the pursuit of chess. One was that her older brother was actually really good at chess and he was the best player in town. So the town was Zugdudi, and he was going to partake in a Georgian championship. And she learned how to play chess through him. But the second moment she references in many interviews is that when she was about 11 or 12, they travelled to the Georgian capital, which is Tbilisi, Tbilisi, because her brother was playing in this big championship. It was a team championship, but he had to cancel at the last moment. We don't know why. I couldn't find out why. But they'd heard on the grapevine that, his younger sister's here and she's quite good. We've seen her. She's quite, good at chess. And that was her in, basically, to the championship.
Oh my gosh.
So not
Just
only did...
fluked into it.
Yeah, because she was a girl, they were like, it'd be great to have a girl on the team because there's not many girls. So she played some games whilst on the train there. So she was practicing and she won a lot. Like even on the train on the way there, she was smashing it. And then overall in the competition, the team came in at 5th place, which was quite a good achievement because Zugdidi is a very small town and this was like a countrywide competition, right? Nationwide.
That is very impressive.
Yeah. And while she was there, she acknowledges that she did play well. And actually, one of the most important trainers and is known as the father of women in chess in Georgia, Vakhtang Lades, he noticed Nona playing and kind of took note of her and after looked up her parents and was like, look, I've seen your daughter. I think she's got some proper skill. Academy that he's running. Her parents didn't say yes straight away. She notes that they finally agreed. It took a lot,
Oh.
But they did. They said, all right, go and train with him. And she became officially under Vartang's wing in 1954.
Just trying to figure out how old she would have been, 1954. So she would have been, what, 14?
Yeah, like proper adolescence. Yeah.
No wonder her parents were hesitant, though, to be
course.
like, here's my kid. Good luck, everybody. Yeah. That's a big jump of trust.
For sure. But they did. They supported her, which is very important. And it paid off really quickly. So as quickly as the following year, she was already winning in most of the tournaments that she played. Like, she was good, right? And then the following year in 1956, she won the semi-final of the Women's Soviet Union Championship. So we're going bigger and bigger. We've not just done Georgia, now we're doing the Soviet Union. And it says there that she was around 14 at that time.
Oh my gosh.
I know. I've popped in a quote here about how she, not how she felt at that time, but how she felt, I guess, growing up in kind of that sporting arena and kind of what her reflections are nowadays, if you would like to read it.
Girls might be born and raised a little differently without that inclination towards sport and towards competition. and this is something that needs to be developed. I think my upbringing supported my trajectory.
So she's there reflecting on how her upbringing allowed her to be this and allowed her to exercise these things that aren't naturally feminine, I guess, and how much she values that later on. Oh, I've also added in the notes in this interview, there's something that really made me laugh. It was one of the questions that the interviewer asked Nona. I don't know if it's funny because it's been translated into English. I'm not sure. This is, imagine like, you know, a dominant idol in a field. Like, this is like the Beyonce of chess you're interviewing. Like, this is a big deal. And this is the question that you're asking her. Who are, in your opinion, the greatest and most important players in the history of chess, since you've practically known all of them since the Second World War?
Oh my God.
I'm like, calm down, mate.
That is a gatekeeping question. That's the, you're wearing a band t-shirt. Oh yeah, what are their 5 best songs? And what I've heard is, as a woman, your response is supposed to be, oh yeah, name 5 women who trust you.
Yeah, 100%.
Like, don't stack up to me with your Second World War on chess player question.
No need to attack the age in that question at all, since you practically knew everyone from the beginning of time.
Confrontational as we're reading it to be, because it does sound a little rude.
No, it really does. It really made me laugh as I was reading the interview. Anyway, she talks a little bit about her training and what she went through. And as part of the training of chess is learning from others, what their games are, what their tactics are. And she talks about one of her role models, Mikhail Tal, who is a Latvian chess player who was very good because she calls his way of a master of tactics. He's so distinguished in what he does, and she really used that. She analysed what he was doing, and she wanted to be like him. Basically, she wanted to be the way he played. And when I read that, it kind of reminded me of. But do you watch Gladiators, the TV show?
I have been known to watch it from time to time.
Freaking love Gladiators TV show. And what she reminded me of was those kids in the crowd with the banners that are like, oh, I love you, Fury. And you just know that in like 15 years, they're going to be, you know, there's going to be one of them that is going to be like, it all started.
Oh, that's so cute.
I know, it's one of my favourite things about Gladiators. And they really, really like lovely, excited kids in the crowd just like crying because they're there. It's so sweet. She also acknowledges that there's lots of different types of chess players. Like, just because you're not at an elite level doesn't mean that you haven't got something special as a chess player, because they all have different ways of playing the game. It's kind of like a bit like a language, and these can be very influential. It's a really important lesson, I guess, in looking outside of the box from time to time and just like pulling on other people and just being open to new ideas. And she talks a lot about what it takes to be a chess player, which is kind of summed up quite nicely in this little quote I've got here, if you don't mind. This is from Nona herself.
Success is made up of many components. Even if just one is missing, you will not become a very successful chess player. These components include talent and hard work, but also a very good nervous system, nerves of steel.
Damn right. We are talking psychological resilience. You need to be strong, you need to be in good health, you need to be competitive and have this drive. And she was particularly noted in her playing as being fierce, being bold, being aggressive, and her types of playing, which are not associated with female chess players. Normally, it was quite a at the time in the 50s and 60s, it was quite a curveball. It was quite a shock to the industry. So it was these nerves of steel, dedication and talent, which meant that quite quickly, so within 6 years, she actually becomes the winner of the Women's Candidates Tournament in 1961. So this is a tournament that actually makes you eligible to go to the World Championships, right? The Women's World Championships of chess.
Wow.
So we started like early 50s. We're now in when she was a kid, and now she's in her early 20s, and she's going to the World Championships. That's quite exciting.
Wow, that's amazing.
So because she's won this tournament, she takes on the match of challenging the current champion, which was a lady called Elizaveta Bakova, who was the reigning world champion in women's chess. So she's like Queen Bee. And they have a match. I learned a lot about chess when I was doing this because the match lasted so long. It lasted 2 months, right? Which is apparently
What?
This is normal, apparently, for chess. This is why I didn't realize it was such a prolonged thing. I was thinking just an afternoon, but it's
I can't even handle cricket because it like goes on for a couple of hours, and you get food. Like
You get
no.
Yeah, so it lasted 11 games through September and October of that year. And there was lots of sessions because there was 11 games. And actually, Nona's favourite football team actually got wind of what was happening and came to support her for one, which is so nice.
That is gorgeous.
That is like the gladiators watching you play. It was so cool.
That's so wholesome.
Isn't it? How sweet is that? So despite her best efforts, Elzevita, the current reigning champion, was unable to combat Nona's aggressive play. The game was adjourned one evening, which is quite common, to be resumed the following morning. But Elzevita actually conceded later that night. She called in and was like, I can't do it. So that meant that over the 11 games, there was 7 victories, 4 draws, which meant that Nona became champion of the tournament of the World's Women's Chess Championship. That's pretty exciting.
To become, to get to the point of mastery after like 6 years of training and competition combined is extraordinary. I mean, that is such a fast, like, accelerator.
Yep. And she's
to the top.
100%. She's like, and this is like you say, the top. This is, you're at the top of the mountain. You're like Usain Bolt in 2008. You are dominating, right? And she was the 5th person ever to hold that title, which shows how rare it is to have somebody come up and take it, right? So 5th of all time.
Oh, I see what you're saying. That like over the entire time it had been held, someone retained it for so long that only 5 people, including her.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Okay.
And I think the other reason for that is because the championships aren't annual. They're like every 2 or so many years, like 2 and a bit years.
Well,
so
look, if it's
in the years,
taken like months, then fair play. They need a little time to reset and refresh.
Yeah, that's true. But also, it doesn't take away from the fact either. That sounded like I was disparaging it. It doesn't take away from the fact that it's still very rare. She then went on to win the Women's World Championship 4 more times. So in terms of like legacy, that is pretty strong, right? Her era basically is known in the Women's World Championships as the Soviet dominated era. So there was like a period of history where it was all Soviet women who were smashing chess basically and who were winning at chess. And then in the 90s, it kind of flicked to China, and it has been China based ever since. And that is mainly because Nona took a step back, right? So she really led the way for not just her, but for so many women in the chess world, which is quite exciting. Nowadays, the championship is, like I said, dominated by China, but also is a knockout format. But during Nona's time, it was a match format, and it used to be held in Moscow. 3 of the 4 times that she won it was against Alla Kushnir, and one of them was against a fellow Georgian called Nana Alexandria, who actually had the same mentor. So, the mentor that picked her out when she was 15. So she came from the same pipeline, which is quite cool.
That must have been really interesting because they might have shared some common tactics and, perspective just through, and, she would know. Nana would know all of Nona's ways of thinking.
I think so. And also, what a moment for Georgia that you've got these 2 women battling it out at the top of like elite level.
It's true. The country wins no matter what, right?
Absolutely. So, it's like culturally, cool. It was a massive moment for Georgia. It was really widely followed. And it was known as kind of the intellectual revolution for Georgian women, which was quite cool. It was much like, when the England Lionesses won in 2022, it was kind of that kind of following, like it hadn't really had a following, and then suddenly it was like, boom, here we go. Many women in Georgia took up chess afterwards, and it became, like I said, Georgia became one of the most prominent countries for women chess. producing many different masters over the career. Like I said, it was a Soviet period of history for chess. And Nona had a great run. She had a really long run as master of women's chess. It's the second longest reigning in history of someone who, a woman at that level. And most importantly, she was also successful when competing in tournaments that were traditionally played by men. So she won against men many, many times. For example, at the Hastings Challengers tournament in the 60s, it wasn't like men are better at this. She was competing just the same.
I'm ignorant to the sport in general, so this might be an ignorant question, but off the top of my head, why is it segregated? Like, what is going on there? The pieces aren't heavier. Like, what's happening?
What in the research, it did come up a little bit, and all that she said it's like lots of different reasons. There's not like one overarching reason that women were cut out, but it was lots of little reasons, particularly when at this level. So it was funding, it was education, it was women's stereotypes, be at home, it was all this kind of stuff. And it is a sport at the end of the day. And I think, you know, some of that was my sport is just as good as your sport, so we will have segregated, you know what I mean? So I think maybe it was a bit of that from what I briefly read about it.
Thank you. That does make some kind of historical
but you're completely
sense.
Right. Of course it's not a physical sport, isn't it? And
so
this leads us on to 1977 at the Lone Pine International Tournament, where she had the highest performance rating amongst 48 players, and during the tournament defeated 4 Grandmasters during this tournament, right? Which included men, right? And it ended up being a 4-way tie. That's how competitive it was. They couldn't even find a winner at the end. They had a tie 4 ways. So they all won, basically. And this meant that she was the first woman to have this type of tournament victory. Never before had a woman won a men's tournament.
Amazing.
That is history right there. That is like mic drop, you know what I mean? So it was this tournament that led FIDE, which is like the international chess body, like federal, like FIFA, but for chess, awarded her the highest honor in chess, which was becoming a chess grandmaster.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's amazing. That's immense. Even I know what that is.
Yeah, so this is the highest title awarded by FIDE, short of world champion, which is such an extraordinary feat. They don't just give out. It demands immense talent, relentless dedication, years of vigorous study, and never before had a woman held that title. Like, she was the first, which is very
good for her.
And she does reference in later interviews that her performance at that Lone Pine tournament and subsequently being awarded the title of Grandmaster is one of her greatest achievements. Like, she's so proud of it. And remember, this is at a time where women were barely acknowledged in sport. So go Nona. She's brilliant.
Standing.
And on top of that, she casually became an Olympian at the same time. So she, at this time, chess was in the Olympics, and she won 10 team gold medals over 11 different competitions. Oh. I'm sorry with your 10 gold medals. And then she ended up dominating the chess world for pretty much half a century, right? After, like, her, because she started so young and she's still alive today. Like, she's had so far, and her most recent wins were, I think, 2022, like, really up to date. She takes part in senior tournaments now and is winning, you know, constantly. She loves it. It's a passion. So ultimately, I think we can say hands down, a lot of success. She's had a lot.
Yeah. She's done all right out of it. She's like world class. You literally can't do better. There's nowhere to go from there. You have absolutely reached the peak.
Yeah, 100%. She references that she will play chess for as long as she can, unless her mind doesn't allow her to do so. She summarizes that chess has no nationality, and it's just one universe, and that is the universe of chess, and it brings so much positive energy. And she references that it will actually make you live longer. So I don't know what that says about us, but yeah.
Oh yeah, we better find something alternative or get on it. We need to get on the chess training.
We need to do something. So all this amazing success, and then what happens is that Hollywood comes a knocking. Well, they kind of come a knocking. Is Netflix Hollywood? I think Netflix is a little bit Hollywood nowadays, right?
Yeah, we'll say yes.
Yeah. So the Netflix actually pick up a book, and it's a novel by Walter Tevis called The Queen's Gambit, and they end up making a mini series about it that debuted on Netflix in 2020. It's a chess focused story. It was huge because it was lockdown and nobody had anything better to do. It's set at the time Nona was playing and dominating, as we've just discovered, and it focuses on a fictional character, a teenage prodigy called Beth. It is not based on Nona. It's really important to know. Beth enters and then rises in the chess world. And again, this is a huge thing for the game of chess. Like, this is a good story for chess, right? That you've got this multi-million blockbuster show coming out, focusing on your industry, focusing on a girl with really high quality production. It actually ended up winning Emmys. I didn't realize. Really good. And I was going to say, guess how many households watched it, but you've got the notes, so that would be cheating.
Oh, was it?
How many
was
households?
it 62 million?
Damn right, 62 million. And households, that's not like, there's multiple
individuals.
People.
Yeah.
Often in households. So, a big deal. So you can understand Nona's utter dismay when the show drops an absolute bomb. Right, which is summed up by this quote from Vanity Fair.
A chess commentator compares the fictional Harmon to real-life Gaprindashvili, calling Gaprindashvili the female world champion and saying that she has never faced men, before panning to a character in the audience who resembles Gaprindashvili.
And what have we learnt, Cara?
She was a world champion, a grandmaster, not a female grandmaster. She was a grandmaster who had, in fact, played against men as well as women across decades of a career.
And
well, at that point, there were no shortcomings in her achievement. What the hell?
It's
what
just a lie. A bare-faced lie that Netflix popped in there and then spread to 62 million households, right? And not only did Nona play men, just like I said, she played at least 59 of them. And often simultaneously in a game. Apparently there's types of games where you can play lots of people at the same time. She not only played them, but played them all at the same time.
Oh, why did they need to even involve that?
It's so frustrating as a move. And like, this is a legacy that they are erasing. This is decades of hard work, study, resilience, shattering class ceilings, climbing ladders, that in very difficult circumstances. Can you imagine? I'm not being funny, but out of those 59 men, I imagine some of them were a little bit sexist when you're playing them in terms of like the psychological resilience, right?
Could be, statistically speaking, likely. Very likely.
It's likely that, you know, she went up against so much sexism to get to where she was. And then Netflix had the audacity to then, you know, be sexist back and absolutely belittle what her achievements were. I know, the anger.
It's not okay. It's that thing as well of like hitting women against other women and kind of, well, you didn't really do it properly because you didn't fight with a guy. And it's like, but she did though. And I watched The Queen's Gambit. I don't know if you did.
I did, yeah. I was one of the 62 million.
Our household is in that number too. I don't think that it would have diminished Beth's story if other women had success against male competitors. She was a naive player who learned through sheer hard work, despite massive psychological and addiction issues. That story arc works without going, and she's better than these other chicks. Like, man,
annoying. It's just the worst. It's absolutely the worst. So what does Nona do? She's like, if this is what you're going to do, I'm not going down without a fight, which is absolutely consistent with her life's work. Consistent to her personality.
Of all the people to mess with, what are you doing?
Not a grandmaster at chess. So she filed a $5 million lawsuit against Netflix, and which is, if you think about cost per script, and that is one line in the script, Netflix really screwed up. That is an expensive line in a script, right? And she claimed that the statement, rightfully so, was grossly sexist and belittling. So she put this in. Netflix initially were like, no way, son. Like, absolutely not. Their defense was that it was a work of fiction and that they should actually be protected by the free speech principles of their country. And they also claimed that it was part of the fictional character's dialogue and not an objective statement of fact. I am sorry. If anyone is going to be, if you trust anyone in a sporting arena to give you facts, it is the commentator. Like, it is the person. You pick the wrong character if that was the case. Ultimately, Netflix settled out of court for a certain amount of money. I think that just shows that they conceded, doesn't it? Absolutely. But what this does show, this final twist of the story, what this does show is that as women, no matter how successful you are, what industry you're in, what level of game you are playing, you cannot let your guard down. You need to protect yourself against not against, but you need to protect that thing that you've built and be proud of it, because people will belittle you. This is 2022 this happened in, right?
Yeah.
People will belittle you and your achievements, and you have to surround yourself with the people who build you up, who give you energy, who build up your self-worth, so you are never torn down. Don't let people like this tear you down. Surround yourself with positive energy and let no one, absolutely no one, take your achievements away, especially $1 billion corporation. Christ. So I think that is an absolutely amazing ending of no, I'm not taking shit from anyone. And if there's a lesson to learn from Nona, it is that. And, that's why I wanted to bring her to the table today.
I love it. Thank you so much. What an interesting person, and how foolish of them they could have just not done that. One line, they could have not cast that person who looked like her.
Yeah.
Why would they go down that road? And the fact that she did not stand for it is inspiring. Yeah, go her is right.
Yeah. All right. I'm riled up now. It made me so angry.
Clearly, when you settle out of court, that tells a story, doesn't it?
And also, why would she care about your First Amendment? It doesn't make any sense.
I think, your First Amendment rights don't entitle you to lie about someone, substantially and talk rubbish about their career. So, turns out.
Yeah, so that is the story of Nona Gaprindashvili.
Thank you ever so much. Very interesting.
Thank you for listening to this episode of She Changed History. If you enjoyed it, please like, subscribe, and comment below. Find us on our socials, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. If you've got any ideas of women you'd like us to cover in a future episode, please comment on socials or email us at shechangedhistory@gmail.com. Catch you next time.